fun begins.
How's it going?
Hello.
Well,
Greetings, young Jedi.
hello there.
Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and today we're taking a look at the 212th Legion Heavy Officer. This is a VeilsToys, not Hasbro, not real, knockoff Star Wars The Black Series action figure, and this is a really, really cool one. So this isn't really from anything in particular. This is a 212th Legion Trooper with a Bakara helmet and a comma, and it's just called the HAO, so the Heavy Assault Officer, I guess. It's somewhat inspired from like the heavies in Classic Battlefront 2, except those were white and not 212th. So this is something a little unique. I don't know if Veils just kind of completely imagined it up and made it out of pieces they had, or if it's referencing one of numerous infinite, random repaints. Because that's the thing, for those of us prequel kids that grew up in the early 2000s, Hasbro used to just paint random combos on random clone molds and put them out and say they're from a comic book or give them a weird name like Commander Bo or whatever and tell you, yep, he's real, he's in Star Wars, and we bought him and we played with him and we loved them. So Veils doing stuff like this doesn't really bother me because, he looks cool and he looks the part, and I'm going to stick him on the shelf. I'm going to be okay with it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get further into the review and see if this one should be a pickup for you. So before we get into the figure, let's look at the accessories as we always do. He comes with some very standard ones, just being the two options of DC-15 rifle. These both look really, really good. They are just cast in black plastic and no paint, no weathering. They just are what they are. Both of these, in this case, actually turned out fairly straight. Not a lot of warping. I love to see that. So yeah, nothing really insane to write home about here, but they did what they needed to accessory-wise, and I do appreciate it. So looking at the figure, from the neck down, minus these overlay pieces, this is the 2023 Clone Trooper body, so it's something that we're very familiar with. It features the rubber overlay torso instead of the sculpted hard plastic of the 2020 and earlier, so I do like how this has been repurposed. They just made a bunch of overlays and they worked with it. So we've seen their commas before, we've seen the straps before. I believe they introduced the strap system for Neo. And what's really new here is the helmet, although they did release a 501st variant like 2 weeks before this one, but still a new sculpt we haven't reviewed on the channel yet, so let's take a look at it. So this is the same style of helmet as worn by Clone Commander Bakara in Revenge of the Sith, a figure that we are getting very, very soon in the actual legitimate Hasbro Black Series, but Veils beat them to sculpting one. I don't believe that this is a bootleg of Hasbro's one, because Hasbro's one isn't available anywhere. Like, sometimes you might be able to pick up something a little early international, like a month, but like even it's too early even for that. So I don't think they got their hand on Hasbro product before it dropped or anything. So I think that it is a unique sculpt, and when the Hasbro one comes out, we will be able to see some subtle differences between the two, and there's nothing wrong with that. I will say, for what that helmet is, for what 3 seconds of screen time it has in Revenge of the Sith that are burned into my memory ever so slightly, this scratches the itch. It looks the part for me. It's the Phase 2 kind of face, and then it's got some gray like flaps put over top, and it's got a little bit of a bowl helmet going around the back. It's kind of a mix of like the Imperial Officer field gear and a clone helmet. So I do really like how it turned out. Features a rubbery antenna off to the side. Coming out of the box, this was very warped in. Leaving it out of the box helped it a lot, but I ran it under some hot water and it sprang up basically straight. Leans back a little bit, but I think that's intentional. So yeah, it's sculpted very nice, looks very nice. It is removable. As always, Veils doesn't paint the faces, but this is the Hasbro sculpt. It's not the shrunken down sculpt they use on certain custom helmets. So it's cool to see that they didn't have to do anything too crazy here, and it just looks the part. It's got the really cool harness system going on with the black straps. There's a gray plate here, an orange plate here. Different shade of orange from the deco on the figure. The shade of orange they've chosen here is a little more on the yellow side. It makes it feel a little more Clone Wars than Revenge of the Sith, but it does scream 212th all the same. It has your kind of standard 212th markings with the triangle of the upper chest, and then the wedges on the sides of the chest, and the little bits on the shoulder pads and the tops of the thighs, and the line work on the knee pads and the bottom of the calves. It is just what you would expect from a 212th Trooper. Something that Veils cannot seem to get down, and I don't mind it as much because of the straps going on here, but on the back where the side stripes wrap around, they're so off center. You know, this one lines up almost out to the center, and you see it even points there, and the other one just goes straight down under the harness. So I don't really know why Veils can't figure it out, but like at least it's on the back, so it's a little more forgivable. But yeah, ultimately he just looks like a really cool trooper. I will say, I know there are like tan and gray commas and stuff, but this one, this ballpark mustard color, that's a new shade. I don't know if I've seen that on anything before, but yeah, that's very, very, very ballpark mustard is where my mind goes on it. But it's okay. It looks the part. It looks all right. So yeah, just another splash of variety for the shelf, right? There was only one variant made for him. A lot of the times they like to drop pairs, you know, where you'll get two different shades, or they'll have different line work on it, or different decos on the helmet. They actually dropped him at the same time as the 501st Heavy. So there was an orange and a blue to buy available at the same time. I grabbed both of them, couldn't pass, and they just look super cool. So yeah, I ultimately I'm very satisfied with the deco and the sculpt, and yeah, like I said, it's just one of those random clones that people in my generation really like. So 2023 body, as mentioned, so you should be very familiar with the articulation. It's hindered a little bit with some of the strapping, so we'll run through it, but it shouldn't be anything too shocking. If you use both double balls for the head, you can actually get him to look basically straight up, and that's excellent. And there's no there's not really any chin action going on under this helmet, so that's really, really nice. He can look that far down, which is pretty good. You get some side to side and a ton of pivot. His arms can come up to a T-pose. There is a deep butterfly joint and a 360-degree rotation at the shoulder. There's a bicep swivel. There's a single jointed elbow that goes about to 90 and then can swivel at the elbow, although the bicep turns a little more freely. The 360 at the wrist is always present, with it hinging in and out on the left hand and up and down on the right. My preference there, of course. There's a mid-torso ball joint, allowing him to crunch that far forward, that far back. You get under that harness there, so it's just a little tight is all. You can get him side to side. You start turning him and it actually falls down off his shoulder and actually frees him up a lot. So you can really, I mean, you could 360 him, honestly, if that strapping system wasn't in place. But we just got to fish that back up on his shoulder now. So you can get some movement. It's just hindered is all. He can do that wide of splits. He can kick that far forward if you turn the upper thigh rotation. Spoiler alert, you go that far back. There's an upper thigh rotation hidden under that armor joint. Single jointed knees can go a little past 90. Swivel at the knee pad just floats there. It goes wherever it needs to go. The feet can point straight down, a little bit forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to get him into some decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. So yeah, some very, very standard articulation. We've seen it a lot before. Nothing really to write home about this time. For some size comparisons, here he is next to the Phase 2 Heavy, which came out in the same assortment as him, and the Black Series Phase 2 Captain Rex. Lining them all up, as you see, due largely to the nature of them being sharing sculpts. They all stand basically at the same height. Rex is an outdated body, but he clocks at the same height too. So the scale works very well for me, and I'm very happy with the product. So at the end of the day, what do I think of the new 212th Heavy Assault Officer? I think he's really cool. I think they did a great job here. Again, he is a custom design to the best of my knowledge. If he's referencing an old 375, I'm not familiar with it. Make sure to tell me in the comments below. But he's just a really, really cool, kind of random clone trooper. I've always liked adding these kind of troopers to the shelf. You know, I like getting your important, your wolf packs and 501st Army builders. Those are always fun. But it's also nice just getting some of the kind of random stuff. Your random kind of generic, he's basically just a grunt, but with some extra pieces. He's got a special job, and that's all right with me. I like him. He's going to blend in well with the troopers I already have, and he's just a lot of fun. So I really like what we're getting here. I highly recommend it personally, and that's where we're at. I think you'll be happy if you add him to your collection, and I suggest you do exactly that. So I'm going to go work on something else. It has been fun talking about him as always. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the end of video stuff. You know the drill. I'm going to go work on something else. So until then, and may the force be with each and every one of you, and goodbye.